Hi, everybody. Welcome to Better Lait Than Never. Shit.
I'm not actually inside a women's prison at the moment.
The horniness just went up to like 11.
Horniness is up to 12 today. It's a big Oilers post-win episode of Better Lait Than Never. Let's just close this down. Bring it down. We're going to just get into the podcast. No need for an intro. Let's just go. Let's just talk about it. Let's just see what is going on in our world. Let's talk to you. Let's get to some voicemails. Let's check the news. Let's do the whole thing. Hello. I'm back from Vancouver. I'm in my home studio, if you want to call it that, I guess. Of course, the Better Lait Than Never is brought to you by the audio department, who works to create a safe space for creativity and collaboration for artists and musicians to realize their potential and share their message through sound and story. Check them out at theaudiodepartment.ca. They are my friends. They will be your friends. Book some studio time, record a podcast, record your album. You got tunes written in there, in your hands, in your brain. You bring them to the audio department. Got it? Good. I'm going to start with a quick little recap of my trip to Vancouver. We were there for games 1 and 2. First, MILF Manor 2. If you're not watching it, it's fantastic. The twist, so good. It's ridiculous, but that's why I love those dating shows, you know? The worse they are, the dumber they are, the better. I've got some episodes to catch up on, so I don't know where everybody else is at. I did get in trouble for Big Brother Canada spoilers, so I won't talk about what's going on with MILF Manor 2 outside of saying it's awesome. These people are all fucked up, and I love it. I love it. At some point, TLC stopped teaching us things, and they kind of pivoted into some weird lanes of dating and oddities that really strikes a chord with old bag milk, you know? Really strikes a chord. The other show I actually want to mention is it just got put on Netflix a little while ago called Man in Full. A Man in Full with, what's his real name? Harry from Dumb and Dumber. What's that guy's real name? Jeff something? Nah, it doesn't matter. That show was so good. I started watching it on the plane to and from Vancouver when I went down there, and I gotta say, Netflix shows are so good sometimes. I talked about Ripley last week. That was the show I crushed on the plane to and from LA. Watch this one, to and from Vancouver. Just good stuff. Good TV. I also love and appreciate when Netflix or whatever streaming services you are using these days, just puts the whole season up. Don't make me wait a week. We're past that in 2024. There's no reason to make me watch TV on your schedule. I want to watch it on my own schedule. Sometimes if they release them week to week, and I know some series still do that, I'll just wait till the whole thing's over, because sometimes I just want to crush them. Sometimes I'll have an evening and I want to watch 2-3 episodes of something. Don't make me wait. It's not the 90s anymore, the early aughts. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, A Man in Full is a fantastic show on Netflix. Now it's going to drive me crazy. Harry, Dumb and Dumber. What is your name again? Why can't I find it? Jeff Daniels. There you go. Fuck, I'm an idiot. Couldn't think of Jeff Daniels. Anyway, if you're looking for a show, it's about like real estate and all kinds of, whatevers. Trickery and fuckery in the banking system. And I actually, it's a fictional story, I think. I didn't look this up actually before I started talking about it, but I feel like it's pretty accurate. The kind of fuckery that goes on in that show, Anyway. I just think that it's a good show. I wanted to tell you about it. I loved it. Fit right in my wheelhouse. It's the kind of thing that I feel like you would also enjoy as well. I share things that I like in the hopes that you will too. Just like, I don't know if you've seen it, but the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins commercial that just came out for West Edmonton Mall, electric, shows Nuge at the Ice Palace. He's at the water park. He's at Galaxyland. He's near the boat. He's having a beer. There's so many things about that ad that I absolutely love. I'm going to go through it frame by frame in my own time. Make some memes out of my boy, because that is a very memeable ad, in my opinion. As somebody who makes a lot of memes around the network, that is a memeable ad. Memeable. I do love me some Nuge, though. Scored a big goal last night. Huge goal. Looked off Connor McDavid. We're going to get to that in a second. But first, we got to kick off the news, and that means I got to push this button right here. brought to you by Star Mechanical. Of course, Star Mechanical is one of Edmonton's biggest locally owned and operated plumbing and heating businesses. They've been working in the community for over 20 years, and many of the homes built in Edmonton over the last 2 decades have had their plumbing and heating systems installed by Star Mechanical. Visit them at starmechanical.ca to schedule an appointment and let them help you keep your home running smoothly. Where do we start? Are we going to
start with the game last night because it was Satan likes what he saw from the Oilers after a disappointing Game 3.
All right. I was going to get to my Vancouver recap, wasn't I? We'll start the news with that. So we were in Vancouver for games 1 and 2, and it's fun because we actually have our Canucks property, Canucks Army is over there, and a lot of the staff are over there, and we just don't see them all that much.
It was really great to hang out with you a couple of times. We got to go for lunch, and I got a big burger because Big Dave loves big burgers, and you got sushi. I like sushi too, but you got the spicy one, and I don't know if my mouth could handle it because I like that burger I had, and the fries were fantastic, and I had a delicious drink. It was very sugary, and Big Dave was fired up for Canucks conversation.
It was cool. I got to, obviously I got to hang out with Big Dave a little bit. We got to talk a little shop. We just got to talk about some behind the scenes things that's going on here at the network. And it was good to spend some time with Quads. All jokes aside, all little Quads voices aside, David Quadrelli is as legit as it gets in terms of employee for the Nation Network. He is a professional. He is dialed in. He's very, very good at his job. And I had a great time hanging out with him. We talked some shop. We made some plans. We analyzed some things that we're doing. We looked at some numbers. He toured me around the studio that they record Canucks Conversation in, him and Harmon. So I actually met Harmon for the first time as well. I'd been on Canucks Conversation kind of doing the bag milk shtick a couple of times now, but I'd never met Harmon. And it was funny because for Harmon, all he knew of me was just the little bag milk character that always appears when I do these kind of things. And he didn't know what I'd be like at all. So he goes, well, nice to meet you face to face after we've actually spoken a handful of times. And I just say the most outlandish shit when I'm on Canucks Conversation as bag milk. And it's funny to me when people go, oh, you're not actually a complete psycho.
He is a complete psycho. And so you don't want to dive into the psyche of this guy, if we're being honest, because sometimes the thoughts get dark, and sometimes that's what leads to the jokes that make you go, ha ha. But in the meantime, there's a lot of sadness in there.
Quiet down, Zane. Don't air out my laundry. So got to hang out with Quads. I got to hang out with Harmon for a little bit. We met up with Sakaris and Price quickly for a lunch. We went to games 1 and game 2. It was really fun. We knocked out a bunch of content. Frank Saravalli was in town too, so loved hanging out with Frank. Always do. He is... I don't even know how to describe hanging out with Frank because, again, my shtick is what it is. And a lot of people do know who I am, but most people don't. And I think it's interesting that everybody wants to hang out with Frank. We were down at Greta doing Oilers Nation Every Day, the pre-game edition of Oilers Nation Every Day. And I was just watching people seeing Frank or like recognizing him and go, holy shit, that's Frank Saravalli. I need to talk to that guy before he leaves this building. And a lot of them, that's kind of what they did. Frank would be like, all right, I got to go to the rink. I got to do reporter shit. And then people would just want to stop him and have a chat. And I love watching it happen because Frank is a pro. He is a pro's pro. So for me, that trip to Vancouver, of course, it was fun to go to game 2. Game 1, not so much. We'll talk about that later. It was fun to watch the team at Vancouver do their thing because there's a lot of pros there. Again, I know I have a lot of fun with Lil Dave on the podcast, and we do
this one, and I always make him sound like he's a little taller, and he likes to enjoy his candies, and he always loves a soft drink, and he's a big burger boy.
But the reality is that Quads does so many amazing things for the network, and we don't get to spend enough time together. So hanging out with Quads is fantastic. Doing all the shows was fantastic. Making all the content we made was fantastic. Game 1, not so much. We go to game 1 at Rogers Arena. We walk in, vibes are high. There's Oilers fans everywhere. I'm going to guess there's probably 15-ish% Oilers fans at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. So there's a sizable contingent, but for the most part, you're behind enemy lines. And let me tell you something about Vancouver fans, which kind of, it'll tie into the Righteous Sack beating later. They are spicy. They are spicy. Like, I've been fortunate enough, and I'm very, very aware of how lucky I am to do what I do. I've been fortunate enough to go to some playoff games in different arenas, in different places, in some different cities, and kind of get interactions with fans on different levels. I mean, I've been to Los Angeles 3 years in a row now for the first round, and LA fans are spicy. They will not waste any opportunity to chirp you as you walk by. But that pales in comparison to what we got in Vancouver. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying a lot of Canucks fans were just fun. They were the people you expect to see, the ones that the chirps are actually funny, and the ones you can handle. But then there's other ones.
They had that darkness in them. Oh boy, they are darkness in them, because some of the words that were said in that arena should never be said. That was sailor shit from the 50s, I'm telling you.
It was an interesting experience. So for game one, we were in the upper bowl, just kind of amid the crowd. And as you can imagine, when it was 4-1 Oilers, it was a quiet rink. It was a quiet barn. And that's no surprise. I mean, like, you're getting shit stomped by the away team in game one of the second round. Everybody was not feeling it. And then, as the game started to turn in the third period, we all know what happened. They did not waste a second of trying to get under our skin. And there was the thing I actually really like about Rogers Arena in Vancouver is if you're in the upper bowl, every row has a bar in front of it. So if you've been to Rogers Place, or if you haven't, in the upper bowl at Rogers Place, there's no railings, and it's quite steep up there. So there are some real opportunities, and I know some people have seen it. I personally haven't, but I know some people have seen it where someone has taken a tumble a few rows down just because they lost their balance, or they got bumped, or had a couple of cocktails, or whatever, and you go tumbling down a couple of rows. Well, in Vancouver, they eliminated that possibility because every row in the upper bowl has its own bar. It's awesome, in fact. But the downside of every row having its own bar is when the Oilers blew that lead in the third period of game one, the guys behind us, I guess they did not appreciate that we were cheering when the Oilers scored. What else would you expect us to do? They screamed in our faces. So I was sitting next to Liam for game one, and this one dude, he would put his hands on the rail, put his face right between our faces, and scream. Like, when I say scream, I mean scream. It wasn't like, oh, what do you like that, boys? What do you think of that? Oh, Canucks come back to win. It wasn't anything like that. Just a screaming, like a. It was annoying. Eventually, it got to the point where I was just like turning around and be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, we get it. The Canucks are winning this game. They won the game. But give it a break. They're so angry. What are you angry about? Your team won. And then leaving the arena, most of the chirps, again, were really, really good. Again, I want to reiterate that most of the Canucks fans we dealt with were fine. They were fun. But there's a group, and it's a chunk. It's a chunk of them where the aggression is unbelievable. Just because you're wearing blue and orange, it's just like you really hate these clothes. The only thing I could kind of compare it to was, the old rumor, or what? Well, I guess not a rumor. What do you call it? Where bulls see red and then go crazy? It's not actually true. We've learned that. It's the movement of the flag that gets the bull angry. But bulls see red, they get angry. It was like when some Canucks fans saw blue and orange, they got there. They went there. And it kind of got uncomfortable. Of course, when you lose, you expect some barbs and some chirps, and of course, you can handle it, but it was wild. Game two, obviously, different result. The Oilers came back from 3 separate 1-goal deficits to close out the game in OT. Evan Bouchard, absolute stud. That was a different experience in the arena. Again, we were up in the upper bowl, but this time we were in the very last row. I normally would not be pumped to sit in the very last row of a building, but in this case, it was perfect because no one was behind us. We could stand up if we wanted and cheer. No one was going to be throwing things at us from behind. I was talking to Banjo Guy. You know Banjo Guy? By the way, he fucking looked awesome last night before game 4. I saw him last night at, what was that called? Molson House in Fort Hall. He was so decked out last night for game 4. He told me it took him 3 hours to do the makeup. But anyway, he was in Vancouver by his lonesome. So when the Oilers blew it in game 1, I saw him later before game 2 and I go, what was that like for you? And he goes, not good. Not good. And it's his story to tell, but sitting there by yourself dressed as Banjo Guy when your team is not winning in game 1 must have been awful. I hope he kept all the receipts. I haven't had a chance to catch up with him a little bit outside of, I ran into him yesterday, but I haven't had a chance to catch up with him too much, but I was curious if his game 2 was better because holy shit. It's wild, man. How can you live in a city that beautiful and be so angry? You know what I mean? And then my favorite thing was when they were chirps. When they were chirps, I'd be like, go back to Edmonton. I'm like, I can't wait. I can't wait. I cannot wait to go home. My favorite one was there's this one guy. Like, I always have kind of these default answers in my pocket depending on what kind of chirps there are, because I mean, I've been a hockey fan my whole life. Flames fans recycle the same thing over and over again, and Canucks fans are not very original, and they just latch on to what other people do, and they take those chirps and they regurgitate them. So there was a lot of name one good thing about Edmonton. I'm like, we don't pay PST. And just a simple rebuttal like we don't pay PST had a bunch of people, their brains leaking out their ears. One guy laughed out loud and he goes, you know what? Damn it, you're right. And then he and I ended up having a really great conversation. So again, I want to make sure to reiterate that there were some really, really fun Canucks fans, some really fun ones. But the ones that were not are the ones that kind of burn in your memory. So I kind of want to have that balance. The good thing, of course, was that the Oilers came back 1-1. Went to game 3. I was excited about that one. I was given some tickets shortly before the game, and I was very, very excited to go because I felt like the game was going to be absolutely electric at Rogers Place, and it was. It was until our boy Stu, well, he didn't have a great night. And we're not going to dwell on it because we've talked about it to death on Oilers Nation Radio and the Nation Real Life, but game 3 was very, very disappointing because as I was driving home from that game, all I could think about was the sub 800 save percentage overall and how anything close to a 900, the Oilers would probably be up 3-0. That's all I could think about. So I wasn't exactly surprised when Calvin Pickard got the call yesterday for game 4. If you listen to Real Life on Monday, the one where we all yelled at each other, by the way. Sometimes when you're angry, you just got to yell at your buddies. The funny thing is, after the podcast wrapped and it stopped recording, we all kind of went, is everybody good? Yeah, we're all good. All right, back on. Left the recording studio to go out into like the bullpen or whatever you'd want to call it. And Jeff Patterson from Canucks Army was sitting there and he goes, you guys were yelling at each other real good. And I was like, hey, nice to meet you, Pat. This is the first time we've met. But yes, we were yelling at each other very, very healthily, to say the least. Game 4. So again, I wasn't surprised necessarily that Calvin Pickard got the call, just because even if Stu wasn't playing well, there comes a point where maybe he just needs a break, a physical and mental reset. And I actually appreciated the big cojones. Hang on, right? The big, hate that button. The big cojones on Kris Knoblauch for making that change. If you remember last year, things weren't going well in the second round, and Jay Woodcroft did not go to Jack Campbell ever. He just kept going back to Stu, and it just kept compounding, and it didn't go our way overall. And that's why I admire Kris Knoblauch for going to Calvin Pickard in what was a huge game. It wasn't like a must-win game in terms of they would have been eliminated if they lost, but going down 3-1 wasn't an option. And I thought Calvin Pickard played fantastically well. This was his first ever playoff start. And I just thought that he was so good and so steady. Even the 2 goals he did allow in the third period, they were not goals where you go, oh, come on, man, you got to stop that. They were goals where the Canucks got the bounce they needed to make it happen. It was one of those score effects things where they were throwing everything at the net, they were crashing the crease, and they got the bounces they needed to get 2 in. The first one went off Darnell Nurse's like calf or something and bounced upward. Calvin Pickard would have had that had he not got the unlucky bounce. The second one bounced in off someone's skate. Brock Besser kind of ripped it from the sideboards and it went in off someone's skate. Those are ones that you can't do a whole lot about it. But the thing I liked about Calvin Pickard is that he maintained composure. He was there. He was with us. He did what he needed to do to be the Oilers goaltender that night, the Oilers hero. And I was just so pumped for him, man. Everybody was so excited for Calvin Pickard based on the way he played that. How could you not be? How could you not be? So that led me to today's version of The Big Question, brought to you by the BLTN hoodies at nationgear.ca. The big question today was, who do you start in Game 5 and why? Is it Pickard or Stu? So I'm going to run through a couple of these. We'll revisit the big question as we go through the podcast as well. But Captain Felton says, picks, hot hand at the moment. I like what Frank said. Get Stu prep mentally for the next hurdle. Fraser said, I'd go picks again. I think it's his crease until the team loses. If we survive this series, we should definitely see Skinner again in the next round. Sweet Jesus. He says, I love Stu. I love Stu, but after Pick's performance in Game 4, you have to go back to him. Tommy says, stick with Pick. It's the hot hand. Everybody feels good. Bouch said it last night. They love him. See the fist pump in the interview? Or the fist bump? I did see that. The fist bump where, so I don't remember exactly what the question was, but it was kind of like, tell us what you think Calvin Pickard means to you. And Bouchard gave a really good answer. And once it was over, Calvin Pickard was just like, hey, bro, fist bump. That was really nice of you to say. Murray says Pickard earned the start with his play last night. The team played great defensively in front of him. That is one of those things where they played simpler. And if you've listened to anything that I've said on any podcast over the last since the playoffs started, it's always like when the Oilers play simple hockey, they are at their best. When the Oilers play simple hockey, they are very, very good at what they do. It's when they don't play that simple hockey and they try to get too cute by half that they get themselves caught. And last night, they did not do any of that. And I don't know if that's the backup effect where you maybe take more risks with your starter in the net, but that was probably the most complete game the Oilers have played since midway through the first round. Lot says, Pickard, the reality is that he played well yesterday, and until he plays not so well, he should get the call. I've been defending Skinner all year, but no reason to see him between the pipes again this postseason until Pickard falters. I also wouldn't be surprised if Knoblauch goes right back to Stu tomorrow, if I'm being honest. KGYEG says, Pickard, you reward good play. Big Wave Dave says, I think Stu starts. He will be rested and mentally ready to go. Jake says, personally, I go with Pickard because he gave them exactly what they needed to win, and the team gave up nothing from the inner slot for 2 periods. Perhaps because they didn't want to hang him out to dry. Better defensive effort overall. Sean goes, you got to go with Pickles right now. He played solid last night, and so did the team in front of him. It almost seemed as soon as the team realized he was performing well, the nerves went away and he got down to business, locking everything down and keeping the puck out. Brendan says, play a picks until a stinker. Give Stu the time he needs for a reset. Matt says, I say Skinner to handle the pressure of Vancouver's atmosphere, but on a super short leash. Rashawn says, Pickard, he looked calm and confident as a 30-plus-year-old veteran. Stu is only in his second NHL season, let us remind you, young and learning. I'd actually dress Campbell as the backup and have Stu watch from the press box to continue learning about the series. I don't know that Campbell will get dressed. I imagine that Stu, if it is indeed Pickard that plays, Stu will be watching from the bench. But I actually agree with some of the watch and learn topics. Because, like, if you think about it, when the Oilers signed Jack Campbell to the 5-year contract, there's no way they expected the plan to be that Stuart Skinner would be their starter in the playoffs the first 2 years of his full-time NHL career. Did they? There's no way. I'm not saying that to denigrate Stu at all. Mr. Pickard gets to start Game 5. I think Stu needs to talk to Devin Dubnyk ASAP. I don't get the context there. Coach is back behind the bench, says that's a very delicate balancing act. Stewart is the one that brought you here, but he hasn't gotten the job done in this round to this point. Pickard played well enough last game, so I'd go with him. There are pros and cons. They have to perform, and if they don't, it's time for a change. We're going to keep working through the news here for Star Mechanical. We're going to come back to the big question a little bit later. Couple of big things from the game yesterday. Leon Draisaitl scored a power play goal after JT Miller high-sticked him in the face. Draisaitl immediately made him pay for it, and now that makes 9 straight games with a point for Leon Draisaitl. The guy goes into warlord mode when it comes to the playoffs, and I don't know where it comes from deep inside him. But there's a fire in that there German engine of his, and it is burning bright and it is burning hot because the guy is on absolutely another level. Leon Draisaitl is one of the best players in the world every single game he plays. But in the playoffs, it's like he goes into a different realm entirely. He is unstoppable. He is, despite whatever injury we were worried about in game 2, he doesn't look like it's bothering him at all. I would love to know what it actually is when all is said and done, because finding him or watching him work through these things is absolutely wild. Another multi-point effort for Leon Draisaitl last night. Kicked off the scoring for the Oilers on the power play. Power play is electric. Next up, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, my guy. He hadn't had a 5-on-5 goal the entire playoffs. We were all gagging for one. We said, you need to score, bud. The assists are great. I like watching you rack up apples. You're a great passer. But ultimately, you need to find a way to get the job done at 5-on-5. And playing up with Connor and Hyman yesterday, he got the job done. He also was on a 2-on-1 with Connor McDavid when he scored that goal, and he looked off Connor McDavid. Yeah! And he buried it where Rogers Place went insane. Something like that. I was screaming very, very loudly. My voice, if I sound weird today, my voice is hoarse. I admit that. I was yelling. I had so much fun last night. My credit card, not so much. Although, pretty sure I don't have to pay that. What are the rules there? You don't have to pay if you don't want to, something like that. Pretty sure. It was a last minute idea for sales guy Jared and I to buy tickets, and then the missuses wanted to come, so we're like a little double date situation. Well, woohoo! It gets pricey, but you know what? YOLO. I'll just let my body eat itself. It doesn't need food, right? So Ryan Nugent-Hopkins scored a beautiful goal. The place went absolutely bananas. I went bananas. It was fantastic.
Let's go, baby.
Oops, I didn't mean to push that, but I'll do it again.
Let's go, baby.
So last night, game 4 was arguably their best game of the series, and I don't really think it's close. And I think there's still more there. Seelov's probably, I don't know how many saves above expected he made last night, but there's got to be a handful. The Oilers just, I shoot blocker. They scored 2 goals on the blocker side yesterday on Seelov's. Get in his kitchen. He can be rattled. He does give up rebounds. I like their chances, though. Frank Saravalli today on Oilers Nation Every Day did mention that Thatcher Demko could potentially come back for game 6 or 7, depending on how his injury holds up. I get why you would want Demko in the net. He's one of the best goalies in the NHL, and I don't really think it's debatable. He's probably a top 5 at the very least? Probably a top 5, if not higher. So I understand why you would want to do that, but he also hasn't played a game in forever. He's also injured, so you'd have to imagine he's not at 100%. Is that what you really want to do, especially if they're elimination games? I called Oilers in 6, and we're pacing for it. The question, of course, is would you do it? Seelov's hasn't been bad. I wouldn't say he's been great. But would you put in a goalie who's probably not at 100% that hasn't played in a minute in for Seelov's, who's kind of rolling right now? Is there any point where you go to DeSmith? Doesn't seem like they would. Back to the big question, Stu or Picks? Lane says Stu had his rest and a bit of a mental reset. I think he'd come back and win the series for us. Brian says it's Stu. The message was sent. Stu had a break in the 2. Hang on. It's Stu. The message was sent. Stu had a break, and of the 2, Stu is the better goalie. Oh, of the 2 goalies. Yeah, okay. Stu also typically plays well after a Pickard start. If he falters again, Stu doesn't dress. It's Campbell backing up Pickard. Again, I don't know they would go there. DW35 says, stay with Pickard. He earned it. Skinner may need a little bit more time to rebound on the mental side. Mike Destroyer of Taco says, I go Skinner. Higher ceiling, rested, Oil D pairing's better now. Can always go back to Pickard in game 6 if necessary. I think it might have been Tyler today on his show where he talked about how Skinner's got a higher ceiling, but potentially a lower floor, whereas Pickard is kind of more in the middle. His highs and his lows aren't quite as high or as varied, I suppose. Our boy Nick says Pickard again put up better numbers and won. There's little debate about that. Objectively true. Again, we'll come back to the big question as we work through the podcast. Last night was just fantastic. Again, the Oilers almost coughed it up in the third period, though neither of the 2 goals they allowed were devastating by any means. The thing I liked is they didn't play to get to overtime. They kept pushing after that second goal went in. It wasn't just like they were like, oh shit, what's happening? That's what happened in game one. They did not do that last night. They kept pushing forward until Evan Bouchard. I mean, is there a moment that is too big for this guy? I just can't see one. The guy is electric with the puck on his stick, and last night he threw out that one of those sneaky wrist shots that always finds its way through traffic past Seelovs on the blocker side to give the Oilers the win with 39 seconds left in the game. Evan Bouchard also became the third fastest defenseman to reach 40 playoff points, and I quote, a secondary assist on Leon Draisaitl's power play goal in the first period saw Evan Bouchard record his 40th career playoff point. In doing so, in his 37th career postseason game, he became the third fastest defenseman in NHL history to reach his feet behind only Bobby Orr, who did it in 33 games, and Brian Leetch, who did it in 32 games. He would go on to one-up himself by getting 41 points with a clutch goal in the final minute of regulation that helped secure the victory, and even the series of 2 apiece. Evan Bouchard, you are a stud.
Can I ask you a deal about what's going on with Evan Bouchard, right? Like, I was just, while you were talking about him, I was just playing around on my phone, and Satan was doing some Googling, and I noticed that Evan Bouchard's only 24 years old. Motherfucker, I thought he was 50. I saw that guy shopping for John Deere tractors and the New Balance shoes, and they were stained. They were stained green with grass. I would have thought that guy was at least 45 or 50. I tried to touch the thermostat in his house, and he wouldn't even let me. Kicked me right out. He goes, nobody touches the thermostat. Nobody. No, I get it.
Oops, I get it. The other thing I want to mention is there's a couple of funny moments from last night's game, including when, what's his name? Lindholm. When Elias Lindholm tried to chirp Leon Draisaitl and said, I'm coming for you. Pardon me, I'm going to cough. Here, I'll put this music bed on. All right, we're back. Elias Lindholm tried to chirp Leon Draisaitl and said, I'm coming for you. And Leon Draisaitl did the, threw the hands up and went, ooh. If you're Lindholm, how do you come back from that reaction? How do you come back from that when you go, I'm coming to get you, and he's all mad and he's trying to be scary, and Leon just goes, ooh. I was at the game last night, so I didn't get to see it live, but when I saw that replay, holy shit. I fucking laughed out loud, man. I laughed out loud probably 2-3 minutes. It was so demeaning to Elias Lindholm, what Leon Draisaitl did. And that was the second time in the game that he did that after he scored his power play goal. I don't remember who the player was. Maybe Joshua on the Canucks, where Leon skated by him and gave him a little tap and went, thanks for that, on the power play, after the power play goal. He is so good. He is the ultimate heel superstar in the NHL. Not to be confused with Nikita Zadarov' heel antics, where he's just getting himself in front of the camera and saying outlandish shit to try and get attention. The difference is Leon Draisaitl is Leon Draisaitl, and Nikita Zadarov is a former Calgary Flame. So I don't know what else needs to be said but that, right? Of course. The other thing that was hilarious was when Corey Perry held his stick parallel to the ice right in front of Brock Besser's face. I don't know what he was doing there, but man, did I love it. That's the annoying shit Corey Perry should be doing on a nightly basis. I've been a little disappointed with Corey Perry over the course of the playoff run so far, just because I expected so much of him. Even though he's 38, 39, something like that, I knew he wasn't going to be the Corey Perry that was annoying to play against when he was with the Anaheim Ducks, but I expected him to be annoying to play against in general. Instead, he's been quiet. And last night was one of the first nights where I thought, Corey Perry is doing Corey Perry things. I know he's not the guy that scored 50 anymore, but he still can be annoying. He can still be the worm. And that's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for, especially against a team I dislike as much as the Vancouver Canucks. Though, saying that, now that I'm thinking about it, we're working through the news for Star Mechanical. Now that I'm thinking about it, I do love Ian Cole. I'm starting to think that Ian Cole potentially could be a double agent for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I have nothing to prove that with apart from the results on the ice, including going back to game 2 when he put the puck right in the net. Evan Bouchard threw it probably trying to get to the Zach Hyman back door. And then Ian Call goes, no worries, Zach Hyman. I will out Zach Hyman. I'm going to defect this thing perfectly past Seelovs. Game winner, electric. We hit the streets of Vancouver and had a great time. So I just want to profess a little bit of love for Ian Cole. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. In our own backyard, though, there was a bunch of new line combinations yesterday, including some new D pairings, which hasn't happened for a long time. Nurse was bumped down to the third pairing, or at least he played third pairing minutes. He only played 16 minutes even. That was second fewest to playoff Kulak, who played 15:20. Vinny played 18:45. CC played 18:06. Nurse, Bouchard and Ekholm, obviously the top pairing, they kind of run away with the minutes. But is that going to be a wake-up call for Daryl? Because let me tell you this, friends. If you had told me that Darnell Nurse would be playing the second fewest minutes of any Edmonton Oiler in the playoffs, I would have been like, is he hurt? Or are things really going that poorly? And I think they were really kind of going that poorly. And I actually thought that last night Darnell Nurse got the message because I think it probably was his best game of the series. Our friend Jonathan Willis, he tweeted a couple of numbers about Darnell Nurse's night last night. And I quote, I thought Darnell Nurse had a solid game last night despite the one deflected goal. That was just an unlucky bounce. He was trying to block the shot, took an unfriendly bounce. Over the last three playoffs, when playing away from CC at 5-on-5, the Oilers have a 59% goals for percentage and a 65 expected goals for percentage with Nurse on the ice. As a duo, the pair has a wretched results, 44 goal for percentage, 44% expected goals for percentage. CC without Nurse is marginally worse, presumably in less demanding minutes. But it looks like that adjustment by Nobby was exactly what Darnell Nurse needed, because he had one of his better evenings last night against the Vancouver Canucks in round 2. Tomorrow night, we're going to be down at Greta downtown, and we're going to be celebrating the away game. So I think it's an 8 o'clock puck drop, but it's Thursday. It's Mini Friday. Come on, you can go out and get it with us at Greta. There is going to be a Waz versus Liam football challenge. I'm very excited about that, arguably more excited than the game itself. We are going to be doing street team stuff where they're going to ask you questions. You're going to appear on our feeds. We want to include you in more content. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be the boys on the mics. There's going to be the live shows. If you want to come down to Greta tomorrow, watch Game 5. Watch the Oilers set the tone for what would be an electric night at Rogers Place for Game 6 on Saturday, when they would have a chance to eliminate. And for our friends at Star Mechanical, my throat is fucked because I was doing a lot of yelling last night. That's where we wrap up the news. Star Mechanical. Visit them at starmechanical.ca to schedule an appointment and let them help you keep your home running smoothly. They offer 24/7 emergency services and are dedicated to working within your budget. Star Mechanical. I love ya.
This is Captain Felton from Vancouver. On behalf of all listeners of Better Late Than Never, Zol will of thousands. Get fucked.
Speaking of Captain Felton here, before I get into the next segment, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about what he did for us on the Thursday off day in Vancouver. So the day between Game 1 and Game 2. If you read the travel diaries or you listened to any of the podcasts from when we were in LA, Jay and Tyler had a bet that whoever won match play between the two on the golf course would win a Dylan Holloway jersey from the other. So it didn't happen in LA just because, I mean, Tyler's left-handed. We couldn't get clubs for him. But Captain Felton's like, I have an idea. There's a pigeon putt in Stanley Park. You guys should do it in Vancouver on the off day. So what did he do? He joined us. He came to join us and made sure that we were organized and ready for this bet. I'd never been to that pitch and putt in Stanley Park, but the holes were hilariously short. It was just a great way to spend a couple of hours and enjoy the sun and have a couple of beers. And we had a great time. Man, my throat feels like I was smoking a dozen cigarettes last night, and I was not at all. I haven't smoked a cigarette in a long, long time, but Man, my throat today feels like it. I need some kind of like Buckley's or something just to smooth it out. Maybe a nice spoonful of honey. Here, I'm going to put this on again. Just 1 second. All right, we're back. So Captain Felton, first of all, we did the round of golf. We had a blast. We went to the Stanley Park Brewery, just had a quick refreshment. And then Captain Felton says, I want to treat you guys to a barbecue on Kitsilano Beach. So Kitsilano Beach is kind of like a happening beach in Vancouver where there was a lot of locals, a lot of just people hanging out in general. But Captain Felton, this dude, is so generous and so kind that he set up a barbecue for us with all kinds of burgers and hot dogs and the accompaniment, the accoutrement. I fucked that sentence up. The burgers, the dogs, and everything you needed to go along with it. Does that make more sense? My brain is running at like 3 of 6 cylinders right now. And like, that's probably being generous. So Captain Felton, like, he set up this barbecue. I got to meet his lovely wife. I got to play with his dog for a couple of minutes. It was just one of those gestures that was so kind, and we ended up having such a great night on Kitsilano Beach. Even though we only hung out for about 3 hours, it was just the perfect way to cap off what was a fantastic off day in Vancouver. I don't know what we would have done had it not been for Captain Felton's gesture, but what I do know is that the 4 of us, Tyler, Liam, Jay, and myself, it was exactly what we needed. We sat on the beach. We ate food. We had a couple of pops. We told stories. We laughed. We watched the sun go down. And it was as zen as you could possibly get in a beach packed full of people. It was awesome. So Captain Felton, if you are listening to this right now, thank you, dude. Oh, and also he bought me the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins bobblehead from when he was with the Red Deer Rebels. How he looks older in the bobblehead than he does now is beyond me, but that is a thing. I'll take more pictures and post it on social if you haven't seen the ones I've already posted. But Captain Felton, you were just so incredibly generous with your time, and you did an amazing thing for us, and I'm just super grateful, man. I am. I'm just super grateful. And I think that it was one of those things where I didn't really know what to expect when we got out there, but the evening turned into so much more than what I expected, and it was all because of Captain Felton and his lovely wife. And I couldn't say enough about how much fun we had. Does that make sense? Of course. So I'm going to find another Captain Felton bumper. I'm going to play that. I got to relabel these. I got to relabel these for sure. Captain Felton, I played the Stay the Fuck Out of Vancouver, or Stay the Fuck Out of Calgary. All right, here we go.
Oh, geez, Rick, are you listening to podcasts again? Not just any podcast, Morty. It's the podcast. It's Better Late Than Never with Bag Milk.
Let's talk a little betting, shall we? We shall talk a little betting, I think. The betting segment is brought to you by my friends at Bet365, proud partner of Better Late Than Never. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code OILYBONUS. We're the Oily Boys, and we give you an oily bonus. Again, promo code OILYBONUS. I'm looking ahead at tomorrow night's game. And there's a couple of things that I quite like. And I know the lines are going to move, so we're probably going to have to adjust these a little bit. But right now, the Oilers are opening up on the money line at minus 150. So they're favored to win tomorrow's game in Vancouver, and I love that. The betting community, our friends at Bet365, they're setting the lines, thinking that the Oilers are going to win Game 5 and come back to Rogers Place for Game 6 and a chance to close, and I love it. My body is here for it. I picked the Oilers in 6. We are trending towards it. So at minus 150, I'm going to do that. I'm absolutely going to do that. The other thing I'm doing for tonight's games, I've got the Dallas Stars. Of course, we know what happened with the Colorado Avalanche and Valerie Nichushkin. So I'm picking the Dallas Stars at minus 140. I'm also picking the Carolina Hurricanes to extend this thing because they are at home at minus 165. I love that series. The New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes are awesome. So them at minus 165, we'll see how this holds up. We'll see whether my takes age poorly or not. But for those games tonight, that's where I'm going. Looking ahead at tomorrow, like I said, the Oilers on the money line. That's just a straight up win, by the way, in case you're wondering. If you wanted to put, you want some math on it? If you put $5 down on that at minus 150, your return would be $8.33. So you don't double your money quite. You don't double your money, but you would get a tasty little return there as well. If I'm looking at some other items, again, these lines are going to move by the time the game comes around tomorrow. So bear with me. Connor McDavid to score at plus 135. I like that. Leon Draisaitl to score at plus 135. I also like that. I also like that very, very much. That means that, again, we'll use the $5 bet. So for each of those guys, if you wanted to put a $5 bet on them to just score at some point in the game, your $5 would turn into $11.75. If your unit is bigger, your unit size is bigger than that, or your unit, that's where you want to be. So I'm looking at those. I'm also looking at the Oilers puck line, which means to win by 2 or more. That is at plus 170. So if you put $5 down on that one again, that would bring back $13.50 for you. So pretty good odds for the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow, at least according to our friends at Bet365. And I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling like the Oilers have got some mojo. I feel like last night was their best game. I mentioned it a couple times already. And I just think that it's time. The Gourds want it, don't they? Just like I want you to open an account with Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of markets, so whatever the sport, whatever the moment, is never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code OILYBONUS. One more time, that is OILYBONUS.
This is David Bowie from the grave. You're listening to Better Late Than Never. And you should tell your friends to listen anywhere else. And what the hell am I doing, etc. Listen to Better Late Than Never, you idiots. Tell your friends. Do it now. Very now.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
For Trilogy Oilfield Rentals, it is time for the Righteous Sack beating. Of course, Trilogy Oilfield Rentals are an established provider of tools and expertise across multiple oilfield disciplines, specializing in rentals, pipe recovery, abandonments, and completions. Currently, they maintain. I wish I worked at Trilogy. They don't want me working there, though. I can tell you that much. Currently, they maintain full-time operating units in Provost, Weyburn, and Kindersley. You want to know what tools they got? I'm here to tell you. I got to push my button again. What makes me sound like I got a megaphone. Rental tools, fishing tools, drilling tools, coil tools, mills and bits, completion tools, any tool for any job. Visit trilogyrentals.ca. What's annoying me this week? Well, I teased it a little bit earlier that it's the small percentage of Canucks fans that are filled with that darkness. They are filled with just weird hatred. And last night I was at Game 4. You can see the video on my Twitter of the guy getting kicked out. He was saying stuff that you can't say. Using words you're not supposed to use. And when he got called out for it, there was no apology. There was nothing like that. Instead, he got more aggressive to the point of getting removed from the arena. I don't know how watching sports turns into that. I am a person that I can handle the chirps. I like dishing out chirps, but you want to know what my chirp was that I was yelling out last night? Hey, Quinn Hughes, your mom makes terrible casseroles. That's what I was yelling at. I was calling people cheaters when they took penalties. That's as far as I go. But the way some folks, and it's not just Canucks fans, I'm sure there's plenty of Oilers fans that do it too, or just any fan base ever. How watching sports turns so vile for people who are not even participating in the event outside of paying to get into the arena is beyond me. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that guy last night took it upon himself in the third period to make everyone's life around him miserable. There was the words. He got called out for it. Then he was aggressive to the people that called him out for it. And then he just decided to stand up yelling, "Go Canucks, go," and not sit down during the play. Well, the ushers were trying to remove him. He was refusing to leave. He was refusing to move. He was refusing everything outside of being annoying, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Again, we're not talking about the people who have chirps back and forth where you can kind of have a laugh about it. Those are fine. That's all fair game. But the ugliness that came out of this dude last night, I don't get it. I don't understand where this comes from, and I don't understand how watching playoff hockey brings out that out in people. He made a woman cry. And she was a little bit of an older woman, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was minutes, and I'm telling you, minutes away from boiling over until the cops finally showed up and got him out of there. And by the way, if you watch the video, if you go to my Twitter and you find the video, it had like over 200,000 views the last time I checked. I haven't checked in a while, but you got to give props to the usher as well. She manhandled that dude, and it was awesome. She just kind of wrestled him down like a calf. I loved watching it, and it was so much fun to see him finally get his. But again, the point of the righteous sack beating is have your chirps. Make fun of the team, do all that stuff, but I don't understand why it has to go beyond that. Why are we getting personal? Why are we saying just the worst stuff about hockey? Or whatever sport, pick your sport, doesn't matter. I didn't get it. It was incredibly uncomfortable. And like I said, it was about a couple of minutes from boiling over to probably getting into a full-blown fight. There was guys around us that were like, dude, this is enough. Get out of here or I'm going to handle it. And to the staff at Rogers Place credit, they handled it like professionals. That is a thankless job for a bunch of people who are probably underpaid to do it. And they have to deal with all kinds of horrible shit. It was just, I couldn't believe it last night. And it blew my mind. And knowing that I was doing the podcast today, I didn't really want to go into too many details about the whole thing. But ultimately, it's just the ugliness that came out of the situation was just puzzling to me. There are so many things in life that are difficult, hard to handle. We all have them. Sports isn't one of those things. It's supposed to be a release, it's supposed to bring joy. And yet, there are those among us that they use it as an opportunity to get horrible, to bring out the worst parts of their personality. And I don't understand it. Maybe it's just me, but like, some people need to chill the fuck out. Get a different hobby if that's how angry you get. I don't get it. Again, go look at the video. The guy was forcefully removed, and it was for good reason. It wasn't because he was a Canucks fan. I can tell you that much. But what I will say is I felt bad for his buddy who was trying to calm him down. He was an Oilers fan, his buddy. And unfortunately, because of his friend's results, he was collateral damage, and he also got kicked out. Two guys probably spent a bunch of money to be there, including a couple of beers, including probably some dinner, only to act like that and get thrown out of the arena and probably have some kind of incident report written about it. It's just annoying. I felt annoyed for everybody around. I felt annoyed for the ushers who had to deal with it. It was just ridiculous. We're talking about sports. Sports.
You want to see a man, boy? I'll show you a man. Kick me in the jimmy.
Ray, what are you listening to?
Like Scoob, it's better late than never with bag milk. Zoinks!
The voicemail is brought to you by nationgear.ca. Go check out the Better Late Than Never hoodies available now. Just click on Oilers Nation, click on shows, and there you will find the Better Late Than Never hoodies. 3 flavors: gray, white, black. All of them are awesome. All of them are handsome. I saw Calvin Felton again. I'm going to give him another shout out. I watched him put on a black Better Late Than Never hoodie, and he looked very, very handsome. Let's get to the voicemails. I see some of these are a little bit old. So, if your voicemail is old and you're mad about whatever, I might just skip it, but we'll see how these go. I got a lot of them to get through. I'd rather not run too long, but we will see how we do. We're already at an hour. Let's get it.
It's 2-0 after the first period. I'm at BP's. I mean, chicken wings, they're unbelievable. I'm also eating nachos. They're unbelievable.
Shout out to our friends at Boston Pizza.
My stomach hurts. I'm driving to get a kombucha right now to right the ship. Go Oil! May this dominance continue. We...
Well, I wonder if that was from mildly aggressive Chad. I wonder if we're going to hear back from him a little bit later in the evening after, well, things went sideways.
I'm driving back to BP's with my kombucha. I'm going to smuggle it in. I was driving.
Don't do that.
There's a guy with the Oilers flags going the other way.
Yeah.
I rolled down my window and I put my fist up and he honks. Woo! And little did I know that I was actually making the Oilers Nation logo, that open whatever frontwards facing fist.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. I get it now. That's the stuff. I love playoffs. I'm hype right now. Let's go. Let's shut up all these stupid Vancouver fans. Yeah, we've been here before. We don't need to yap like them. I'm yapping right now. So, I mean, like, you got me there, but let's go. I'm hype right now. Let's go, boys. Playoffs are the best.
Mildly aggressive Chad turned into hype Chad. I imagine we'll be hearing from him soon. Chris Wackling, you're up.
Take 2, I'm sorry. Hey, bagged milk.
Take 2 is fine. One take podcast, of course. I mean, I even left in where I put music on so I could cough. That's where I'm at. Should I edit that stuff out and be a professional? Probably, but that's not where I'm at, and that's not what I did.
This is Chris. So this is after Vancouver beat Edmonton 5-4.
Yep.
Which is pretty cringe, honestly. And I was thinking through, and I was thinking on the goals Skinner gave up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, like that was lucky and that was unlucky, but like how much can you blame on luck? And I was thinking about that. And then I saw something that changed my perspective.
Go ahead.
I saw a post that said last night the Dallas Stars were tied for first in the games lost after leading by 3 or more goals. But tonight, Edmonton regained first place after tonight's loss, where they were leading by 3 goals and then lost. So they have 8 and Dallas has 7. So in the grand scheme of things,
go ahead.
We got first place back. And you know what? I totally get it. I don't respect it, but I get it. So honestly, you know what? This loss is a loss and we're still going to win. It's goofy, but I get it. All right, well, Oilers in 6. We were going to lose 2 anyways. Let's go.
I mean, I don't know that that's a stat you want to be first in, but I appreciate the positivity. I'm going to soak that in, and I'm going to live in it. I'm going to soak it all up. Chris Wackling, a little bit of positivity. Oh, no, we got Nick here. I imagine these are going to be well measured after game 1.
Okay, BM, I'm not going to come on here and bitch.
Wahoo!
Like I did after game 2. I learned my lesson there.
There you go. That's called personal growth, Nick.
A very good game 1. I think there's definitely some
No,
positives to take away.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of stuff that's, to be quite frank, disheartening.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? For most of that game, the Oilers were beating the Canucks, and they just blew it.
Yep.
So you can look at that. They blew it, but also for a large portion of that game, they were doing the right things, and they just couldn't close.
Yep.
And you know what? That'll come.
Positive Nick. We got Nick again, and we got Nikolai. Are they the same people? We'll see what Nick wants to say again in part 2, I guess.
Okay, Big Mouth, I'll try to summarize this here. I do have friends. I have many friends.
What were we talking about to prompt this message? Did we say you didn't have friends? I don't remember now. I mean, that sounds like something that would come out on this podcast, but I don't remember that at all.
You probably wouldn't guess it from these voicemails, but I'm a pretty antisocial person. I will go...
Me too. You and me both, brother.
Put my business and not talk to anyone. Once I know you, I'm fine, but I'm pretty shy.
That's life as an introvert, my friend. You are singing to the choir right now.
So that's not a very good strategy for 1, making a lot of friends, and 2, getting a girlfriend. So like I have friends.
Yes.
But I'm not in a friend group. none of my friends, for the most part, are friends with each other. So I just kind of, I don't know. There's no group chat with the boys where we like talk about our lives.
That's interesting. Let me think about that. So I have a couple of different group chats with different friend groups. So one of my group chats is specifically people that I met through this job that I've become friends with over the last 15 years. And that group chat is incredibly active. We talk about all kinds of things, from kids, I don't have any, but from kids to life to money to jobs and cars and Oilers and everything in between. I have other friend groups where they're my buddies from high school, and that one just kind of devolves into us making fun of each other because that's how we've always done it. So interesting. Those two groups, however, have never met. Me and Jean Shorts, who you've heard on this podcast before, we're the only link between the two. Interesting, right?
So, it would just be kind of weird to text my friends. And also, none of them are sports fans. Like, I make it a point in my life to like follow the Oilers and follow the Broncos. And I watch every game and I listen to podcasts. None of my friends are like that. They're all casual sports fans. On an unrelated note, they all have girlfriends and I am single. So, maybe that's related.
Don't worry about that.
But who's to say?
It'll come, Nick. Don't worry about that.
So,
aren't you going to school to be like a neuroscientist or something like that? I mean, this all tracks for somebody who would be going to school to be a neuroscientist. Like, you're dedicated to what you want to do. I get it.
That's why I really like leaving voicemails here. And I know a lot of people don't like me leaving voicemails and they don't like me.
Doesn't really matter, Nick. It matters what I like. This is my show. You keep leaving voicemails. I'll make fun of you if I have to. I did it last week with your Skinner voicemail. You know that. You learned this week. See? Progress.
And you know what? I understand that. But I feel like this voicemail, it's the closest thing I get to a sense of community and, more or less the group chat with the boys when it comes to hockey. So thanks, BM.
Anytime you need, pal. Again, regardless of what people think of your voicemails, it matters what I think of the voicemails, really. I'm the one in control of the board. Nikolai, is this you again?
Hey, BM. So I'm listening back to my last voicemail. Or I'm thinking back, I should say.
You don't have to think about it. We're going to move on.
Those messages did not age well.
There he is. There he is. Well, you should have left that one as overconfident, Chad. Because I'm not going to lie to you. When I was in Rogers Arena in Vancouver and it was 4-1, I was elated. So what you were feeling there, overconfident Chad, is what overconfident Bag Milk was also thinking. Who's next? Working through the nationgear.ca voicemail.
Hey, Bag Milk. Just gotta let you know that there's a bird in my backyard right now. I think it's a really nice looking bird. So thought you just might want to know that.
What kind of bird? Like, you got to give me more details than what was. Come on, man. You can't just tell me about a bird that looks good in your yard. Now, unless this is the same bird you posted from your yard that was basically, I'm pretty sure it was just a crow. Either way, shout out to Waz. Shout out to Waz.
Hey, Bag Milk. Diamond Doug here.
Diamond Doug is at some kind of banquet hall. Perhaps he is enjoying lunch with friends in a mess hall. Maybe he's at an old folks home playing bingo with his grandmama. Either way, there's a lot of noise here, Diamond Doug.
Oh, I gotta come clean. I've been living a lie. This is my actual voice. My name's not actually Diamond Doug. It's No Pussy Doug. And as my name suggests, I get no pussy.
Well,
but I've been supporting the Oilers for a long time. I recently moved from Edmonton to BC, and I'm behind enemy lines here, and I feel very threatened and afraid. If, people could support me, and that would feel very good. So I wouldn't have to do this voice anymore to feel like a big man and compensate for my crippling low self-esteem, etc. Anyway, this is No Pussy Doug signing out. Goodbye and good night. I hope the Oilers win tonight. It's Friday night and I'm a little worried. Bye.
They did win. Fear not. Sexless Doug. This is Nick again.
Yo, Big Milk. So, is currently second intermission of Oilers Canucks game 2.
Let me think here. Second intermission, Oilers Canucks game 2. Okay. No, that was when if you saw my tweet, that was when a 60-year-old man tried to fight me. We were in the bathroom line. It was Tyler and I in the bathroom line, and I was literally on my phone playing on Twitter. And the guy came up to me and said something about grabbing our dicks because they were going to be down by 2-0 or something. And I didn't hear him. Legitimately did not hear him. And I looked up at him and I go, "What did you even say just now?" And then he tried to re-say the chirp or like reword the chirp, but it made it sound like he was going to feel himself up. I didn't really understand it. So I replied to him and I go, "Listen, man, you can do whatever you want. I'm a very open person. Live how you want to live, brother." And I went back to my phone and he went from 3 to 12 in terms of the anger. And he eventually had to get separated by a group of, like I said earlier, cool Canucks fans that were just like, "Man, you made yourself look like an idiot. Get out of here." So that's where I was at in the second intermission. Of course, that was after the Zadorov goal that Stu gave up from the goal line that I'm sure Nick was thrilled about. We shall see.
Not ideal at this point. Apparently, Stu is racist because he thinks that all Russians have the exact same shot as Ovechkin because he seems to be giving Nikita Zadorov all the looks in the world, buddy. But I'm not going to blame Stu. Stu, not all these your fault. Or they're not all your fault.
I blame Stu on that one. That was an ugly goal.
Fault, I should say. But you need to make some saves like you did in game 4, like you did in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that different, buddy. But I'm not even going to blame him because we have played 100 minutes in this second round, and it does not feel like the Edmonton Oilers have dictated play for a single second of this.
The good news is you left that voicemail in the second intermission. The Oilers ended up winning over overtime. So the concerns were squashed. Next up, anonymous caller. Who be you?
Let's freaking go. That was so mentally exhausting. My voice hurts. Game 2 is the game. Because I know you're going to say, "What game were you talking about?" It could have been any of the games between Wednesday and Wednesday.
Well, when you said that was mentally exhausting, I knew exactly it was going to be game 2.
It's game 2. Yeah, I'm mentally exhausted from that. I don't know if it's... Obviously, it would help if I drank. I had a drink. But I just... The games just are so almost hard for me to watch. Like, I just can't even almost be in my own skin. Yeah, I was at an undisclosed bar establishment of sorts where one former Gavin the intern works, and I addressed him as such, and he fist bumped me. Nice guy. Why does he have to work 2 jobs? Are you guys not paying him? Pay that man. He's nice. He worked hard. You should see that guy behind a bar. He's ripping around. He's putting drinks where the drinks are supposed to go and the dirty ones where they're supposed to go. He's hauling ass. Pay that man. Tell Jay.
I agree. First of all, Gavin rules. I very, very much a big fan of Gavin. He does get paid with us, but he's a hustler. What can I say? He's a hustler. It's like me, myself. I work for Oilers Nation and I do this kind of stuff, but I've got another job outside of this. You guys just don't know about it because I don't talk about it. Gavin is a hustler, my guy. That's what he is. That's who he is as a person, and that's why we love him. I love Gavin very, very much. Just like you. You got to see why we love him too. Next up, anonymous caller. This one.
Ooh, good afternoon. I realize you're in Vancouver.
I am in Vancouver. Well, I was.
Let's be honest. Nobody thought we'd tie it up 1-1 back in that little...
I did. How dare you? Never gave up hope. Come on, Donkey Volley. Come on.
Apparently British scenario. Bring them back to the boys' town. Oh, my word. I have... Right. I'm going to say it. I have a confession to make. I have not seen a single puck pass play at this entire series. 2 series. Work moments. I might quit my job. If we're going to win it, we'll see. No, it won't go. But, good God. I love it. And please, don't injure Leon.
Yeah, don't injure Leon is right. Donkey Volley, I appreciate you. Don't give up the hope, though, my boy. Don't give up the hope. Anonymous caller, who be you?
Oh, fuck yes. Yeah, obviously. He says, procrastinate again. By the way, brilliant result in Vancouver, because I expected to go 2-0 down there and we'd really be with our bottoms in the air or arses, whatever. Oh my God. Is this the time? We've tied it in Vancouver, who have absolutely had our arses on a stick. Let's be honest. Let's not pull 2 shits about it.
I love the way he turns a phrase, you know? Our asses on a stick. Like a spit. Like we're pigs on a fire. I love Donkey Volley.
Absolutely fucked us up. Oh my God. I'm starting to feel horny. Does somebody want to cuddle?
I do.
Yeah. I can feel a chewing on coming.
I think that all listeners of Better Late Than Never should get together and have a big group cuddle. We'll all lay in a row. So that way we can all be Little Spoon and Big Spoon. And if you're on the edge, every 15 minutes we flip to the other side. So everybody gets a turn. Everybody gets a turn. Make sense? Of course. Kyle the Embalmer, you're up.
Hey, BM. I just thought I would jump on and give a quick shout out to all those people who have donated so far. I have passed my halfway mark of the 2,000, and I've currently ran 40 kilometers this month.
Good for you, buddy.
And I also saw Oilers Nation posted my link on their Twitter today, which I thought was amazing. I also thought it would be a great day to let everybody know the reason why I decided to join this and to why I support the story. So it's currently May the 12th. It's exactly 5 years to the day that we had to actually make our first visit there. A little bit of a trigger warning possibly for some people, but it was a Saturday and I was working on my trailer. My wife came running out to there's something wrong with our son. And so I ran in the house and he was completely stiff. And I have a slight emergency medical background, so I do understand I understood what was going on. And he was having a seizure, which he'd never had a history of or any indication that there's a possibility that could happen. So we tried to call 911 and TELUS decided that wasn't a good idea. And we multiple times trying to call through, were denied. So, and I will go to a second one quick and try and get that.
Yeah, I'm not even going to comment. I'm just going to let these play through.
So when he came out of his seizure and recovered after a few minutes, we decided we would take him to the hospital. I'm not going to mention which hospital, but if you look me up or know me, you'll figure it out pretty quick. The doctor there basically told me I didn't know what I was talking about, and that he probably just was straining too hard having a bowel movement and passed out. So we left. He told us to come back if something happened. I talked to another medical friend of mine, and he said I should get a second opinion. So we went off to another hospital. That doctor found out kind of what was going on, found out how I would know what was going on. So she understood that I knew what I was talking about. Went and got us a referral for the Stollery. But while we were there and before we could be discharged, he had a second seizure. So instead they kept us and we were going to get transferred there. Before we got transferred there, he had his third one. We got sent off to the Stollery by ambulance. And long story short, the treatment that he received when we got there, the different tests, the medication that they gave him to get these things to stop. It was just amazing to see all the staff and the way that they take care of these kids. In the end, he ended up having 12 seizures in about 2 days. He was having them about every 2 hours. But we ended up, as of now, he's been off medication. And
Part 3 is coming up from Kyle again. I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to let it ride up.
Well, he was on medication for 2 years. But as of now, he has been seizure free for 3 years, which is amazing. And it's all thanks to the staff and all the medical people that were there. And after that, my daughter also has had 3 visits there, various levels of her asthma, one of which she was on very high flow oxygen. So in the end, basically, I just want to give back to them. I've seen the care that they have, and I have a feeling, even though I don't want to, one of them or both kids will end up there again at some point. I wouldn't be surprised. So in the end, that's why I'm doing it. And sorry about all of the voicemails trying to tell this story, but I feel it's very important. So thank you again, everybody that's donated so far. And I would love to finish my goal for this month. So I still have 19 days to finish. So any help is greatly appreciated. Thanks, everybody.
Why can't I hear myself? Oh, there we go. Kyle the Embalmer is the link for the donations is on his Twitter page. Okay, so it's Kyle the Embalmer. Now, if you can't make a donation, understood. I don't know what your situation is. You'll see some amazing Better Late Than Never listeners have donated there. The link is on his Twitter. I just retweeted it from mine. So JSBM Bag Milk on Twitter. If you follow me there, you will see the link. If you can make a donation, I would love to try and get Kyle over that $2,000 goal. We're over halfway there. If you cannot, totally okay, but you could do me a favor and just retweet the link for me, okay? We are retweeting it from the nation. We're retweeting it from mine. Helping to raise some money for the Stollery. They're a fantastic organization, and it's a worthy cause. And I want to watch Kyle run. That's just the end of that. I just want to watch him run, you know? Next message in the voicemail for nationgear.ca comes from Blowfish. Shout out to Blowfish.
Hey, BM.
What's up?
It's the Blowfish.
Hello.
So, recording this just after we lost Game 3.
Yep.
Yeah, shot totals were a bit ridiculous.
45 to 18.
I'm curious, though. I guess I'll be listening to this at the next podcast, but how many players are traded, according to Nick? Or sent into the sun or the moon or whatever. But yeah, less than ideal. Obviously, my score prediction didn't turn out.
Yeah, mine
Not
neither.
even close.
Mine either.
But I'm still calling Oilers in 6th.
Me too.
Vancouver got both of their wins. We need to come back, take some more shots from the first line, play like the fourth line, and I think they can do it. It's got to bring their A game, not leave it in the dressing room. Still have faith.
Still have faith from the Blowfish. I agree. I called the Oilers in 6 too. It wasn't always going to be a smooth ride. And happy to report, Nick did not throw anyone under the bus. We shamed Nick as a group last week. He learned his lesson. That's called growth, my friends. That is called growth. Shout out to Nick. Anonymous voice mailer. Who be you?
Okay. Sorry for the spam this week. I'm just fired up and packed.
Fired up Chad, we're calling him.
Passionate about the hockey. Yeah, Game 4 just finished. Took the dub. A couple quick notes. I'm not a nurse hater. I really try not to be, but he just seems really unlucky. It's like how many goals just happen to deflect in off of him.
Yeah.
I just yeah, okay, it's where he's standing. It just seems like really bad luck.
I agree.
That last goal, the second goal, it seemed like it hit almost like 4 or 5 skates. It was going parallel to the goal line and ended up taking a left turn in. And it seemed to me, I haven't watched the replay again, but it looked like it went in off a Nurse's skate at the end. First goal tipped off of him too. Tough luck. I don't
think the second one did, but again, I would probably have to take a closer look at it. But ricocheted a time or two, that's for sure. It definitely went off Vinny's skate, or not skate, stick, into the crease, and then another hard left into the net. So yeah, bad luck. That's score effect sometimes, right? Like the Canucks were throwing everything at the net, including the kitchen sink. And sometimes that happens, and sometimes you keep them out. But the good news is that the right team came out on top.
Well, secondly, yeah, if I'm coach, I'm starting Pickard game 5. Like, one goalie has not been good this playoffs. One has come in for a short amount of time and has been solid. Like, I don't really blame him for either of those goals against.
Me neither.
I don't know. And I think, yeah, like, assuming we make it to next round, start Skinner game 1. Like, when we have a little more runway. But right now, Pickard looks composed. I think you got to stick with him. Just my thoughts. Go Oil.
There is excited Chad, post-game Chad. I think I would probably go with Pickard tomorrow as well. We'll see what happens, though. Nobby today did not have his... You wouldn't say anything, and that's the least surprising news du jour. But yeah, there was no indication from Kris Knoblauch about which way he would go. Wouldn't be surprised at all if it's Pickard. I also wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to Stu, because ultimately Stu is the guy that got us here in the first place. He is the starter, though sometimes you got to roll with a hot hand. And since post-game Chad brought it up, let's go back to the big question, which was exactly that, Pickard or Stu. Big Oski says, always go with a hot hand in the playoffs. It's a mistake they made last year with going back to Stu after Campbell bailed them out. I'm a big Skinner guy, but I always go with a hot hand. Mr. Burns says, Stu, if he's ready, that is. The man seems to be very in tune with himself and where he's at. I trust him to know if he can come back yet. Daddy G says start Pickard game 5, but if he has a sub 850 save percentage and struggles the slightest, you got to put Skinner back in for game 6. I don't think you're winning the cup with Pickard. If the cups go all the way, it will be with Skinner in net. Shirley says yes, and my reason is because... Thank you for contributing. David says, start Pickard. Love Stu, but he's looking defeated after goals, and Van has him thoroughly scouted. Picks earned his shot. Mike, Destroyer of Tacos, says, fun fact, Canuck Elias Pettersson has one more point against the Oilers than Canuck Elias Pettersson. I don't understand that. Picks, Peter says, picks until the Canucks figure them out. If they don't, then Skinner to start the next series. G. Dave says picks. Markstrom for Campbell says pick. What a username that is, Markstrom for Campbell. McMullet, the guy McMullet says, got to stick with picks. Nucks are in Skinner's head. Bring stuff back for the next round. Shout out to McMullet. Paul says Pickard because his save percentage is above 730 or whatever horde percentage Stu is at. Literally any goalie provides a better number than what Stu is at the moment. And can we really take a chance and hope that he'll be better? Matt says Pickard, if the Oilers lose game 5 or 6, put Skinner back in and give him a chance to save the season. Gary, Oilers and Blue in my vein, says Pickard won you game 4. He isn't the long-term answer, but he can give you 1 or 2 more quality starts. Let's get back to the voicemail. We've got Kyle the Embalmer after the win.
Hello, BM.
Hello.
The Oilers won tonight, which was great. Series is tied 2-2. Now, if we can just put 2 games together, then we can really hopefully finish the series out and then see if we can do better against Dallas. But anyway, on another topic, quick, I just wanted to jump in about my campaign. If you're listening to this on Wednesday or Thursday, anybody out there in Melkerland, and you want to help me out with my campaign to raise money for the Stollery, I have to give a shout out there on Thursday. Any donations that I receive, there is a foundation, the JP Bickle Foundation, that is going to match all the donations that are made online on Thursday, May 16th. So this is a perfect time if anybody feels like donating to me. I'm currently for better than whatever sake, about $1,000 from my goal. But if I make it to $500 in donations on Thursday, I will hit my goal. So if anyone wants to help me out, Kyle the Embalmer on Twitter, and let's see if I can't make my goal.
There's no plug for Kyle raising money for the Stollery. Again, Kyle the Embalmer. Go check out my socials; they'll be there as well.
You know what, BM?
Oh, Ducks Not Dukes. I was wondering if I would get it here from you, my friend. Where have you been, sir?
First off,
yes,
fucking let's go Oilers.
Let's
Series
go.
2-2. Get a fucking dog up here if you're a Vancouver fan, you stupid cunt. But secondly, I just did like a 15-hour workday and missed the whole thing because I had to do work and then we had like some, fucking workshop shit. Anyway, not the point. What kind of, apart from obviously missing the game, which like I just emotionally didn't register because it would break my heart so much if I even tried to process that. So I'm just, I forgot words. Compartmentalizing, whatever that'll do. That shit, so I don't have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But what has, I had to turn that aggression somewhere, and what has pissed me off is, when like you have like a catered, like a little charcuterie board for those of you playing at home, you've got like your crackers and your cheese.
Did you say charcuterie? I too love a charcuterie board. If that is what you said, allegedly, in my opinion.
And you fucking whatever. The crackers, the cheese, and like the little, bits of salami or whatever that you fucking, chorizo that they put there. Why are they never the same shape? You try and build yourself a little snack, little cracker on the bottom with some cheese and then some meat. Motherfucker, you got a round cracker, a cube of cheese, and like an oblong bit of meat. Don't get fucked. Play La Bamba, baby. Let's go.
I thought Dukes was going to talk about the hockey game. You want to talk about charcuterie board? If you know me at all, you know how much I love charcuterie board. There, again, I've told the story, I think this was recently, about how I almost got a deal with Lunchables to try and get them to send me a bunch of them because I used to eat them when I was shit-faced. There are charcuteries on the go, my friends. Charcuteries on the go. I've been getting trained my entire life because when I was little, we were broke and I couldn't afford Lunchables. Couldn't afford them at all. So now that I'm older, I've got a job and a dog and a missus, I can treat myself every now and then to a charcuterie board. Although, given how the playoffs have gone so far, I hope that Uncle MasterCard doesn't ask for his money back at any point soon, because that could be a problem. Right. Last voicemail for nationgear.ca is OJ Gaze. OJ Gaze. Are you new here? Who be you, sir? Or lady?
IBM OJ Gaze here.
OJ Gaze.
I think
OJ Gaze, I'll remember that. Go ahead, sir.
For the remainder of this series, I think they should play Pickard because I think Pickard is better at playing against bad offenses, like low event hockey. Skinner always struggles in games when we have 40 shots and 15 shots against, because it feels like he almost gets cold. And then the 4 chances that the Oilers give up, because we always give up, all teams give up chances, he lets them in because he's cold. He's way better when he's into the game, when he's getting a bunch of shots, even if it's just from the outside. But I think Pickard is able to play that game where I might get 4 shots this period, but I'm going to get every shot because he knows how to stay in the game. And I think that Skinner not playing against bad teams in this regular season affects his ability to be able to play games like this, because Vancouver's offense is so anemic that they're really only getting the random breaks that happen during hockey games. And they're struggling to be able to do that. So I think Pickard is the right choice for the rest of this series because he knows how to play low-event hockey and stay engaged, and then start Skinner in the next round if we make it.
There's OJ Gaze to finish up the voicemail for nationgear.ca. Go get yourself a Better Late Than Never hoodie. Do it for me. I don't make any money off it. I just want some branding out there. You know what I mean? I'm going to do another hoodie giveaway. So get the reviews coming in. I subscribe to a service where if I get a review, they kind of come to my email so I can organize things better. Just put more people in the draw. Leave me a review. Get yourself in the draw for a new hoodie. Why won't you? I'll probably do that shortly. And just since OJ Gaze finished it up with a Pickard vote for Game 5, let's go back to the big question today because we got a whole bunch of answers coming in. Eagles and Oilers says, I think Pickard earned the start with last night's win, and Stu is better when rested for a couple of games. CK Donk I think it has to be Skinner. If Skinner can find his form, we have a shot at the cup. I don't think we get past Dallas or Florida with Pickard, though he has proven me wrong all season long. Tyson says Stu is due for a rebound. However, I could see Nobby going either way. Reg says Calvin Pickard. His confidence is sky high at the moment, which is a 90% of the game for goaltenders. If he falters in game 5, you bring in Stu for game 6 at home. I still believe in Stu. He just needs a bit more physical and mental rest. Matt Coulter says, I think we go with our pal Cal. We need calmness, and I think Cal provided that. John goes Pickard. I says Stu. We need him to get back to his level. Wade says go back to Stu. Dance with the bitch that brung you to the dance. If he looks even remotely shaky in the first period, you pull him. You give him a short leash. I'm curious to see what is going to happen tomorrow for Game 5. In the interim, I will be at Greta. Downtown, I'll be at Greta watching the Liam versus Waz football challenge. I'm very, very excited about that. Almost excited as I am about the game. You want to come and stare at Tyler? You can do that there. You want to come and stare at Liam? You could do that there. Greta tomorrow night. Thursday, downtown Edmonton. Watch party with the nation. Come on, who's going to have... You're going to tell me we're not going to have a good time at Greta? Come on. Of course we are. In the interim, go to nationgear.ca, sexify your body. The BLTN hoodies are there. Thank you very much for listening to me struggle through this very long podcast. My brain is not operating at full capacity. My throat feels like shit, and I've probably been coughing into this microphone way more often than I'd like, but I thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for putting up with me. And I hope something fun happens. I hope we get Oilers in 6 as I predicted, so I can do an emergency post-series recap episode of Better Late Than Never. But until then, I will see you at Greta.
Your ears are sexy, even bag milk thinks isn't true. His donkey singing, welcome to Better Late Than Never.